Hey guys, this is Chad with Winning Tennis here, and today we're going to be talking about tennis serve tips for beginners and tennis serve tips for advanced players. Now this is going to be the first tennis review video that I've made, so let's get right into it. Alright, this is Juan Pablo Jaramillo, and he was kind enough to send me this video for me to review his serve. He is an advanced player. He plays Division II college, been playing 9 years, about 5 to 6 years competitively, and let's take a look at his serve. Let's see that serve from the deuce side. Okay, here's Juan's serve from the ad side. Let's take a look at a few in regular motion, and then we'll slow it down and point out a few things that he could improve on. All right, there's his serve. So maybe some of you guys are watching this thinking, wow, this guy serves really well. You know, what can he improve? Or what do I have to improve in my serve if this guy is serving this well? And, you know, I'm going to be making some suggestions. But then again, the top players in the world have coaches. Okay, so let's take a look here in slow motion at his serve. Okay, this is Juan's serve in slow motion. Okay. The first thing that I see here that just jumps out at me is you see his tossing arm and his hitting arm are almost at the same level too quickly for the technique that I like to hit the serve with or that I teach my students. Now, if we take a look at two of the greatest servers of all time, Sampras from the 90s and 2000s, and I consider him pound for pound one of the best servers of all time. And we look at John Isner, who I think has the best serve of all time, we'll see different. So let's take a look again here. Let's just rewind this a little bit and take a look and see how his serve compares to the pros, Pete Sampras and Isner. He starts off well. He goes forward. He's rocking back. He's got a low center of gravity here. Okay, that's all fine. Now the toss comes up. I think he comes up a little too fast. Okay, so he's losing that spring. And he's almost standing upright here. He's going to bend his knees a little bit, but again, both hands almost next to each other, where the hitting arm should actually be further down. It should be either by the shoulder or lower than the shoulder at this point. Okay, now he's going to start his bend again. And he does have a decent knee bend. He could bend more. The racket drop is good. The only other player that hits this, that serves this way that I've seen is Stan Wawrinka, and we'll take a look at his serve as well. Okay, he does get nice extension into the serve. He does jump onto the left foot. Could he jump further? Yes. He could jump even further. You can see his heel is touching the baseline. And the best servers usually jump clear over the line, so they're getting more of their body into the serve. Another thing that I'm going to point out on Juan Pablo's serve is I don't feel he gets enough turn on his shoulder. Let's take a look one more time. And this is for a lot of players out there like you. I mean, this is a great tennis serve tip for beginners or advanced players, that right here, and it's a little bit difficult to see from the camera angle, but he should have more turn in his shoulder. So this shoulder should be back a little bit more. And Pete Sampras was great at this. It helps disguise the serve and it gives you more torque. So as you can see here, when he's going to hit, I feel like he should have these shoulders turned this way, not this way. And I feel he's losing out on some power there. Now let's take a look at the greatest of all time. All right, I pulled up this video because it's somewhat similar in angle. This is Pete Sampras. I consider him the greatest pound-for-pound server of all time. Let's take a look. Okay, so look at this. His tossing arm, the ball has already left his tossing arm, and look where his racket is, well below the shoulder. His hand is by his navel. Okay? Juan Pablo's hand was up here already. So that's my big criticism. If you look at all the big servers, with the exception of Wawrinka, you're going to see this. Okay? And we'll look at that with Isner. And now he comes up. And you see the way he stays low? Did you see the way he stayed low? And with Juan Pablo, he was low, he came up, and he had to come back down again. All right, let's take another look at Juan Pablo's serve, and we can see that out contrast to Pete Sampras. Okay, so we can see him kind of going low here. He's bending his knees. So now he's getting low. Now he comes up, loses momentum, and he goes into a pinpoint stance, which is fine. But from here, he has to go back down a little bit again. Okay? So that's not an efficient serve. This is John Isner. Let's take a look at his serve. Okay? This is great. Just watching this is great for your tennis serve tips. Now, we could also see that if we rewinded it back to where the ball left his hand, let's take a look at where his racket is. And let's slow it down a little bit further. Okay. So we can see here that when the ball leaves, typically the ball is going to leave your hand around the top of your head, right about here. Now when the ball leaves his hand, his racket is down by his navel again, right here. Okay, and this is two of the greatest servers of all time, John Isner and Pete Sampras. And only, let's see where his racket is still, now he brings his racket up, but he's in this angle here, so, and he's bending his knees. So the racket's going to be a little bit lower, but that's really where he brings his racket up, only at that point. And of course he has the classic racket drop, which is just about ideal, almost, yeah, pretty much ideal, perfectly perpendicular to the ground, and he comes up on edge, pronates, his body's coming forward, and let's take a look at his foot where he lands. He's landing maybe a foot inside the baseline, where Juan Pablo was landing, his heel was on the baseline. So he's bringing his weight forward into the ball. I think John Isner is the best server of all time because he has solid serve technique, maybe not the best of all time, but certainly being 6'10 or 6'11 and getting all that weight forward into the ball and from that height makes it the best serve of all time. And I don't have the stats, but he's probably right up there in the top 3 of people who hold their serve the most. It's probably like 90-something%. And he probably has the worst return game in the history as well. But that's another video. All right, so we're going to take one more look at Juan Pablo's serve for his tennis serve technique. Again, these are great tennis serve tips that you can utilize in your game. You can look for these things. Here, now we can see when the ball leaves his hand, his racket is up near his head, where we can see with Sampras and Isner that their racket was down here by their navel. So I think his racket is coming up way too fast. And right here, look how high his racket is. Again, the only player is Wawrinka. Let's take a look at Wawrinka right now, actually, to compare. Okay, here is Wawrinka. Let's see his serve in slow motion. And we can see it looks very similar. Now the ball is going to leave his hand, and yeah, you can see his racket is way up there, very similar to Juan Pablo's. So there's no real one-size-fits-all in tennis. You know, everybody has different body types, so technique could be slightly different for everybody, but there is one basic technique for a good or great serve. Let's take one more look at Wawrinka's serve. He is one of the few players that actually serves like this. I don't think I've seen anybody else. Maybe there might be somebody else in the top 100. But you can see he does get a little bit deeper knee bend, and he has his shoulders turned more, and he gets his hip flared out into the court more than Juan Pablo. Beautiful racket drop, explodes up into the ball, And like Juan Pablo, he's not really going much into the court, although he's just practicing his serve, so he may not be fully hitting it fully. But we can see his heel is on the back foot. But I guarantee you when he's serving 130 miles an hour, his foot is coming further into the court. So Juan Pablo, I'm going to leave you with these tips. I feel that you should have the hitting arm a little lower so that it is below your shoulder when you toss the ball. So you can see right here how you're bringing it up a little too quickly. I would have it a little bit lower. Try that out and see if it works for your tennis serve. If you could keep this arm a little lower so when the toss goes up, your arm is below the shoulder, not above, because we can see here it rises above. At least here, from my eyes, he does turn his shoulders enough, but on the ad side, he didn't. Okay, and you can see right here when he gets into his pinpoint, he's starting to open up his shoulders a little too much. I would try to keep them closed a little bit more. And I feel like he could have a deeper knee bend. I'm not sure of the angle here, but most of the pros are getting close to 90, and I bet this is not 90 degrees. Okay, does have a nice racket drop, does get a full extension, and here we can see that he actually jumped further into the court, which was better, and I do like the finish. Okay, so that was a nice serve, with the exception of a few of the things that I mentioned. Now, Juan Pablo, you can try these things out. It doesn't mean that you have to change your serve based on what I say. These are things you can try to incorporate, and for all those people at home watching, these are some of the things that you could look for. Video your serve and see if you could identify some of the things that I mentioned in this video. I know a lot of you open up your shoulders too soon. Another thing I wanted to point out was how Juan Pablo starts down, and now he's completely up, and now he goes down a little bit at the end. I feel you can do a better job of that. If we looked at Pete Sampras, you see how he starts off up, he goes down, and then he's up again. And I feel like your serve is not efficient because of those reasons. Now, also keep in mind that there's a limit to how fast anybody can serve. If you're maximizing how fast you can serve, you can refine your technique a little bit, but there's only so much of a limit. So if you can serve 100 miles an hour, it's not like you can improve your technique and all of a sudden you're serving 120. It doesn't really work like that. It's going to be very small. It might be 5 miles per hour. So when you see these videos that say, get a big explosive serve, serve power and all that stuff, it comes in very small increments unless you're a complete beginner with horrible serve technique. So thank you, Juan Pablo, for sending in this video. If any of you guys out there have videos you want me to review, I'll be glad to review it. Juan Pablo, good luck getting into a Division I school and playing the future matches. Hope you improve your serve and do well. And also, we're not really finished with Juan Pablo because he does have some ground strokes and volley shots in some of the rest of his video. And I'm going to be doing some review on that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel for more video content like this. Click that notification bell so you're notified of the next videos. And again, if you have any videos you want me to review for any of your strokes, you can send it to videogod2015@gmail.com, and I will leave that email address in the description below. I'll see you guys in the next video.